Welcome to the WoodSongs PODCAST, songs and stories of America's front porch with folk singer Michael Jonathan.
So on the last podcast, we were talking about how important good work is to anybody's career, especially these days, because it's very unlikely, here's the truth, not being mean, not being discouraging, this is just the facts of what is out there. You're probably not getting a record deal. You're probably not getting a booking agent. You're probably not going to get a manager because very few artists are able to make money because of the way things have changed so much. And this is just a hard fact. You know, folks look at people like, good artists like Billy Strings. He's packing them in arenas. He's never even had a hit record. Lightning does strike every now and then. There's a lot of Tyler Childers wannabes out there that think it might happen to them. And I know one fellow left his wife and 5 children because he wants to be part of that musical crowd. And it's just not worth it. So what do you do with all that heart and all that passion? And in the previous podcast, we explained how good work is as powerful as having a hit record for your career, your reputation. It's better to have respect than fame. I'll give you an example. Who was the top 4 record 3 weeks ago? Do you know? They were famous for a minute. Do you know who they were? You don't. So doing good work and gaining respect from your community, from your neighbors, your family, your friends, the people who enjoy your music is a very powerful thing to do. And we explained in the last podcast how in our world we use the WoodSongs media mechanism to help musicians after disasters. And so on this podcast, I'm going to explain how we did that. And hopefully you'll be able to take that example and use it for yourself. We are all able to do good things within the reach of our symbolic front porch, whether it's your neighborhood, your hometown. In WoodSongs world, we're going from Australia to Ireland and South Korea to Kuwait and all across America. So we have a very big front porch that we can draw from. Well, you look at your symbolic front porch. What is your reach? And you can do great things within your reach. Here's how we did things in our world when there was disasters and we wanted to help those musicians. And I encourage you to revisit our last podcast if you've not seen it, because then you'll understand what we're talking about here. There is a fact. Love is the greatest transaction of the arts. And when there's a crisis, people's hearts are activated. They want to help. They want to do good things. They want to be invited to participate. And they will react. They will respond. They will work with you. They will be highly motivated to do things. But how do you do it? How do you collect 1,800 instruments and distribute them in Asheville, North Carolina to 1,000 people that showed up out there? How did that happen? So here's our theory. Music and art is the first to get cut in the schools, right? It's true. Music and art is the last to be helped when there's a disaster. The first thing that people are worried about is my family member is missing, my house is gone, the trees fell on my car, the business I worked at is out of business now, and I don't have a job, and I don't know where to live. And when all of that subsides, the musicians of the world they're looking for that comfort. They're looking for that joy. They're looking for that expression to feel human again, to feel alive again, to feel like things are going back to normal again. And that's where collecting those instruments became important. So, a disaster hit, and what's the first thing that you need to do? Can you imagine? I'm asking you. Here we are. There was a big, massive storms in East Tennessee and Western North Carolina, and you want to collect the instruments. What's the first thing you do? Ask for instruments, right? No. That's not the first thing that you do. The first thing you do is you decide for sure you want to do this. It's a responsibility. You know, people will volunteer for anything so long as they are not responsible for what happens. So you have to decide that you are going to take the lead, you are going to organize this, you're going to get it done, and those that follow your lead will not be disappointed. You know what the payment for a volunteer is? It's how they feel when they're done. How do they feel when they've done the job that you asked them to do? Do they feel good? Do they feel like they were helpful? Do they feel like they did something of value? If they do, if you've accomplished that, you will have plenty of volunteers. It's when volunteers try to help you out and they get scolded, or you express disappointment, or you overwork them, or you want them to be in charge, you want them to be responsible. No, they're not going to volunteer. So the first thing you do is decide, I want to do this. What's the second thing? Now we're going to collect the instruments, right? No, that's not what you're going to do. Now you have to decide, where are you going to do this? You have to reach out to the venue, the place that you're going to distribute these. In our case, it was Warren Wilson College outside of Asheville. Would they be willing to host this event? They said yes. Okay, is it a good venue? Is it appropriate? Is it big enough? Is it accessible enough? All those answers were yes. So now we had the venue. Now we're ready to collect instruments, right? No, you're not ready to collect instruments. You have to decide when. When is the venue available to do this? And when should you do it in face of the disaster that happened? You know, if the disaster happens first week of the month, you're not going to try to distribute instruments the second week. They're not ready yet. They're hurting. They're scrambling. They're living in hotels. FEMA hasn't responded yet. Nothing's going right. So you wait literally a couple of months. So now you have the venue. Now you've decided when. Now you're ready to collect instruments, right? No. How are you going to tell people you're doing this? You need communication. You need media partners. You need radio partners. Who are the radio stations in the area of the disaster that are willing to help you? You know what? They all will if you do one thing. If you make it so they don't have to think about it. If you provide a PSA, pre-written, ready for them to talk about on the air. What is a PSA? It's a public service announcement. It's kind of like a commercial, but there's no charge for it because that station is supporting the musicians in that area. They're more than happy to do that. They want to do that. Hey, they play records and music. Of course they want to help the musicians. This is a great idea. Nobody else is doing it. So you give them a PSA. Most PSAs are either 15 seconds long or 30 seconds long. And the best way to do a PSA is in a non-com format. What is a non-com format? That's what public radio needs. And if you do it for public radio, it works perfectly for everybody, even commercial radio stations. It means you're not telling them what to do. You don't tell them to go to WoodSongs.com. You suggest. You can find out more information at WoodSongs.com. You're not telling them to do anything. That's non-com. So you get all your media partners done. Now you have 3 or 4 radio stations that are going to help you. You've got the venue. You know when you're going to do it. And now you have media partners. Now you're ready for collecting instruments, right? No, you're not ready yet. Where are people going to bring those instruments? We call them drop-off points. Where are they going to bring them? Before you can ask them to donate their instruments, you need a place for them to bring them. So we had, in the case of Helene, 36 drop-off points. What's a drop-off point? It's a music store. It's a school. It's the Kentucky Theater in our case. It's people's homes. It's folks that are willing to collect. In Tennessee, there was a chain of ice cream stores. Bring an instrument, you get a free ice cream. Radio stations were willing to do it. WDVX in Knoxville collected nearly 100 instruments. Radio stations in Bristol and Johnson City and in Asheville, they collected a bunch of instruments. Winston-Salem, there was a music store that collected over 150 instruments. So now you have your place for people to bring them. You have when you're going to do it. You have where you're going to do it. You have your media partners that are willing to tell the public that this project exists. And now you have your circle of places where folks can bring their instruments. Now you're ready to collect the instruments. Now you put the word out. And I'm not a big believer in social media, and I'll tell you why. Facebook, let's use Facebook. And I'm not complaining about Zuckerberg. I know it's a business. He lets everybody have the thing for free. I get it. But anytime you ask somebody to do something on social media that sounds like it's a ticket, it's a concert, you're selling something, you're trying to get them to go to a website, they crush it. They squeeze your post so that hardly anybody sees it because they want you to pay for a boost. So you have to be very careful how you use social media. It's helpful for you to have a web page that people can go to. School might donate a page of their website, or a radio station might do that, but on this website you have all the information people need. Where are the drop-off points? When is this going to happen? Where is it going to happen? And then you can get it done. Doing good work is a lot of work. It's a lot of work to do this thing they call playing. But you know what? We did it when there were tornadoes in western Kentucky. We collected 1,000 instruments for the people out there and gifted every single one of them away. When the floods hit Appalachia in 2022, we did it again. We used Knott County Central High School in the Appalachian Mountains. Hundreds of people lined up because we were organized, and we got it done. Then Helene happened. 1,800 instruments to nearly 1,000 folks. The line was huge, and we couldn't believe it. Everything was gone. Everything was gone. And while we were doing Helene, our own home state got hammered. As a matter of fact, as we're doing this podcast, we're getting ready to bring hundreds of instruments to the Appalachian Center of the Arts in Pikeville. We have our venue. We have our date when we're going to happen it. We have our media partners. We have our drop-off points. But right now there's these massive storms coming in again. But because we're organized and we have all these wonderful volunteers, if we have to change things, we can. It won't be a lot of work to do that. But here's the thing. You can sit around and you can vibrate air on your guitar in your upstairs bedroom with your sunglasses on and your backwards on baseball cap, thinking you're the coolest thing in the world, waiting to be discovered, and it's not going to happen. Or you can do good things with your music. You can go to children's hospitals, old folks' homes. You can do fund drives. I did a big project on the homeless. I did a huge project on teenage suicide, 120 concerts in 12 weeks. Because I read a story about kids that were so depressed, 4 of them in New Jersey, they killed themselves. And that bothered me. And so we put together a concert series about teenage suicide. Over 250,000 kids attended these concerts. Now, I could have been out trying to have a hit record, or I could have done something with the music, and literally, I know that we saved lives. I know for sure we got kids off of drugs. I know for sure that concert series was the right thing to do, and it was a good thing to do, and I'm glad that I did it instead of running out for a commercial career. I know that collecting these instruments for the Helene musicians and for the Appalachian musicians and tornado musicians, I know it was the right thing to do. I know that creating WoodSongs, which is a free event, including myself, everybody volunteers, but I know that's the right thing to do. I know it's worth it. I know Song Farmers is worth it. WoodSongs Kids belong on America's front porch. Who else is doing it? There's not a single multimedia broadcast in America doing what we're doing with kid performers. It's the right thing to do. It's better than a hit record, and it lasts longer. So I'm encouraging you to be brave, get organized, and use your music for something a lot better than the self-gratification of thinking that you can vibrate air for 3 minutes and think you deserve a standing ovation.
The WoodSongs Podcast, Songs and Stories of America's Front Porch, is presented worldwide by Martin Guitars, the Department of Kentucky Tourism, and listeners like you. Visit us online at woodsongs.com. Thanks for listening.